This is yet another session on advertising in which we are going to discuss what are the various media that we make use of in advertising. Here we will be discussing about print advertising, TV advertising, radio advertising, online advertising, outdoor media, and other media. Also, we will be looking at some advertising techniques like above the line advertising, below the line advertising, and through the line advertising. These will be very interesting to discuss and understand, and I hope you will stand benefited with them. So, first, let us look at the print advertising. Print advertising, as we all know, includes newspapers, magazines, and yellow pages. Now, this is basically meant for literate audiences. Who holds a newspaper in their hand or who reads through on their mobile? Only those people who are literate, who can read, who like reading. So newspaper ads, as we all know, they are the oldest and the most popular ones, also because newspaper is the oldest media form that we know of. So now we know that newspaper makes use of low quality paper. Because the shelf life is very, very less. A newspaper becomes old and is thrown on the very second day. So there is low paper quality and the color reproduction is not very great. Yet it is a very popular medium and there is no choice of niche audiences in it. When I say no choice of niche audiences, what I mean is it is a mass media. It is read by multiple people who may not have the same tastes, may not have the same choices, may not make the similar purchase decisions. So hence, there is no choice amongst the niche audiences here. Also, it is a more costly proposition because the newsprint material itself is very, very costly and it has a limited shelf life. After 24 hours, the newspaper becomes old and we don't look at it any further. We look forward to the new day's newspaper. So this is why it is, despite the fact that it has low shelf life, it is a very costly proposition. Then, as compared to this, when we look at magazine ads, any magazine that you can think of lasts at least a week or 15 days. Sometimes there are also monthly. So there is a target select customers or consumers and the advertisers can target them very strategically. So those people who are going to read a fortnightly magazine which is on politics, we know what their tastes are. We know how do they make their purchase decisions because a lot of research keeps getting done and keeps getting revived on consumer behavior. Right. As compared to this, if it is a magazine on fashion and trends that a person has subscribed to, you know what kind of a bent of mind this person may have. So it is easy to strategically target the consumers because advertisers know that a certain taste of a magazine, an individual who will have a certain behavior, who will have certain ways of choosing a product or certain ways of choosing a service. Also, magazine ads are much better because they have longer shelf life. Unlike a newspaper, a magazine does not get discarded after 24 hours. So it has a longer shelf life, which means if a fortnightly magazine comes at home, it is being, people are browsing through its pages, reading the articles for a whole 2 week. Right. So this has a longer shelf life. Also, because it has a higher shelf life, in order to make it more attractive, magazines make use of high quality paper. Because of all these reasons, it becomes a more costly affair. That is why a magazine is costlier as compared to a newspaper. So one issue of a newspaper might cost you 3 to 5 rupees as compared to a magazine which will cost you 5 times the cost of a newspaper. After this, let us also look at TV advertisement. Now, TV, as we all know, it is a dominant media which is used by the masses. It came to India in around 1975-76. It came with the idea that it will bring about development. And people thought that programs like Krishi Darshan, since India is an agrarian economy, programs like Krishi Darshan will help people strategize, will help people understand, know, learn, and educate themselves. But that precisely did not happen. And TV slowly turned into more of an entertainment medium. Once a mass medium becomes more for entertainment, we know that people like to spend their leisure time with that medium. Today, in today's generations, it is the phone or the OTT platforms, and in previous times, it was just television. So, when we know that a lot of leisure time is being spent with a certain medium, obviously it becomes a very important tool for advertising as well. Now, TV advertising gives maximum exposure and it has a huge reach in a short span. So, if there is an ad that you say is playing for 60 seconds or 30 seconds during the prime time news on the television, you will see that there are more number of eyeballs that this ad has been able to garner. Why? Because that is how it makes the reach huge and more potent. Also, it is an audiovisual medium, which means it is not necessary that people have to be literate, people should have the ability to read, because your two senses, hearing and seeing, are involved when you are looking at a TV ad. Also, the message is getting absorbed quickly. The more your senses are involved, the more number of senses that you are involving in communication, the better the absorption. So the messages that are getting absorbed are being absorbed quickly as well as elaborately. And also it is engaging. Why? Because unlike a radio, which you are doing something else and you're listening to, TV is something that engages you, that takes your time and attention. And that is the reason why it also is the most expensive medium amongst the traditional media. Big businesses monopolize TV because they want to have more of their advertisements played on it, because they know that TV is something that is going to control the leisure time of the audiences for a long period. So advertising on this potent medium makes a lot of sense. And there is no choice of literate target audience, so it is easy for advertisers to be able to communicate what they want to say in many ways, because it is an audiovisual medium. As compared to this, when we look at radio advertisements, we know that radio is an audio medium. It is a medium for the ear. Messages are to be designed more for the ear, more for the listener. So whether it is a combination of what you say, the words that are said are very simple, easy to understand, there should not be any ambiguity in pronouncing them. So, and the kind of music that combines with it. So all of it together has to be able to suit this medium of ear, which is the audio medium. And for obvious reasons, it is less expensive than television, and the ad durations are also shorter. So while a TV ad can go up to 20 seconds or 30 seconds, a radio jingle will only be for a few seconds. So within 5 to 10 seconds, you will see a radio ad winds up. Audiences are also not segmented properly. Why? Because radio can never be sure about who these people are who are listening to it. It could be a housewife who's listening to the radio in the afternoon after lunch. It could be people who are driving and listening to the radio. It could be people who are going to work right in the morning. So the time and the kind of audiences that are engaging with this medium of radio can never be very clear. And there is always a possibility of switching channels. Just like TV, we also have various radio FM channels that people switch over to. So sometimes people like to listen to the important information that comes in the morning alongside listening to the music. But at other times, that information may not hold much value to them, and so they may switch channels. So that is again an important thing that an advertiser will always consider while he or she is creating an ad or deciding to come up with an ad on radio. Now this possibility is lesser as compared to television. Why? Because it is a secondary activity. So once you are playing a certain channel, radio channel, and you're also cooking, you're also driving, you're also doing some other thing, cleaning maybe, it is less evident that you might just go on to another place to change a channel. So that possibility becomes less, which means it can continually communicate to you as compared to television, where you usually sit with the remote and all your senses are engaged, so you're able to swap channels. So that possibility for radio is lesser than TV. When we look at the online advertising and new media, one thing that we must be clear about, that online advertising is more potent because unlike a newspaper, online you are being watched. You being watched as to which ad did you engage with, what kind of information did you come across. So say, for example, you decide to do some community service and contribute. So if you are going through those kind of websites, you will suddenly see that more messages about donations start coming up to you. So how do these media know it? Because it is an online medium and your data is getting tracked regularly. Even when, say for example, when you have a smartphone with you, which obviously tracks your location, which looks at, which knows what kind of websites you're browsing. And if you're discussing, say for example, about a place that you would like to go to in your vacations, that too is being heard. So you will see that on your social media platforms or whichever other online platforms that you regularly visit, you will start seeing ads of similar nature. So what does it mean? That the smartphone is listening to you. It is recording, it is gathering data. All the time you are a data collection point for this terminal. Online advertising has the power to blend both print as well as TV. What is the limitation with newspapers? Words, the space is a limitation. On digital media, that is not a limitation. So you can keep writing, you can keep reading as much as you like, right? So there is, and that is one thing. Apart from that, it has the power to blend both the text, the print, as well as the TV components in it. So when I say TV components, it is you will see an audio podcast, you will see an audio-visual film there, and you will also see text there. So it has the power to combine all of traditional media in it. Then audiences can be tracked, like I just said, because there is more use of big data and a lot of people are studying that data, making sense out of it, and then converting it into certain interpretations which will lead them to figure out who exactly their target audiences are. Then there is more global reach of this medium of internet and online. And literate audiences obviously have a wider access. Why? Because since they are literate, they can open these websites, they can go on these links, and then they can engage themselves with the kind of content that they like to. Also, messages can be more personalized, like the example that I just said. If you decide to do some community service, you will see more ads of donations to various NGOs or to various associations who work for the underprivileged, poor, women, whatever, start propping up. So messages can be more personalized in nature because they are watching your online activity. They're studying it, they are tracking it, and at the same time creating sense of it. They are able to know what exactly you're looking for. And of course, the reach is unlimited because you can, anybody who is in the US can be tracking sites here. That is how, and plus you can be looking at the same site in different countries. So the reach is unlimited. And it is a more inexpensive medium now, and hence it becomes more potent as compared to traditional media of newspapers or magazines or radio and television, which are expensive when it comes to advertising. Online is something which has become more and more inexpensive. Because with the increasing of the broadband, like when we have 5G that we are talking about today, this 5G wasn't existing earlier. But in the earlier times, using the internet or using the phone was a more expensive affair as compared to now. So now it is becoming, the more the technology is in the hands of large number of people, the more inexpensive it is becoming. And this is also important because if you want more people to make use of technology, if you want more people to engage with the online media, it is important that it becomes more and more inexpensive. Only then all stratas of people, all the socio-economic classes of people will be able to afford it. Now let us look at an altogether different kind of advertising, which we call outdoor advertising. Now this works best for target audiences who do not consume media indoors. So what are you basically targeting at? It doesn't mean that this person does not engage with television. But what you're trying to capture is his attention or her attention while this person is traveling, maybe to work or for any other purpose. So this outdoor advertising works best for target audiences who do not consume media indoors, or who there is a provision for consuming media outdoors as well. Then mobile customers are there. These people can maybe look at the hoarding while they pass as they're driving or as they're going somewhere. So Longer messages are not used in outdoor advertising. Some examples of outdoor advertising can be hoardings, large hoardings, more than life-size hoardings that you see along with people who are endorsing those brands, usually celebrity endorsements. They are put up on the highways. Then you would also see pole ads. Yeah. So on the dividers of roads, you will see poles, and on poles there are certain ads. This is the ad of a tuition center. This can be ad of maybe a tailor or something like that, a salon, so on and so forth. Then there can also be electronic displays. More commonly in India, you find them in malls and all. So, or even on railway stations and bus stands and malls, electronic displays are there which will talk about a brand, which will talk about a sale going on, so on and so forth. Then we also have wall paintings. You must have seen graffiti on walls. People who draw a few things or who write certain messages which are not meant for selling a product or a service, but that is the graffiti, the wall drawings. Similarly, you would also see wall paintings of certain brands. Like you could see this Amul girl who's cheering for Team India because maybe India has won the World Cup. So these wall paintings are also an example of outdoor advertising. Then there are also, in what forms do these outdoor advertisings come? They can be in the form of banners, they can be in the form of posters, as well as transit advertising. When I say transit advertising, these are the advertisements that you see on the back of autos or behind the buses or trucks. So all these kind of advertisements come under transit advertising. Another feature of these outdoor advertisements are the fact that they are flexible in terms of placing the ads. So it is not that if you have placed a poll ad at a particular place, it cannot get replaced. Every month they are usually replaced, or every few months they get replaced. They can also be used at crowded places. In fact, outdoor advertisement works best in crowded places only. So because there is no choice of audiences here, so the message is going to everyone, irrespective of the fact whether they are looking for the kind of product or service that you're selling or not. So this is, on one hand, it is very cost effective, but at the other hand, the limitation is that you can only persuade through certain messages, through limited words. Which means that at crowded places, people will not have a lot of time to stand and read a hoarding. So it has to communicate whatever it is meant to communicate in very few words. So that is the challenge of outdoor advertising. The last thing that we will be discussing in this section is the other media. When I talk about other media, I am looking at direct mails, I'm looking at telemarketing, I'm looking at in-film advertising, etc. Let us deal with these one by one. When I say direct mail, you would often see that in your inboxes, on your emails, you would find certain communications which are coming from maybe brands of clothes or brands of certain generic medicines or from political parties, so on and so forth. So these direct mailers are actually individualistic communication, which a brand or a certain organization is making with you, an individual. Now, this can be in the form of catalogs. So it is very normal for people in education line to keep getting catalogs of book publishers, which are the new books that are coming, or what is it that we should be looking forward to. So those catalogs appear. There are also brochures. Whenever there is a sale or something like that, they will also push the product brochure alongside. Then there are also sales letters. There are also prospectuses. Prospectuses usually come from educational institutions or some such training places after one or two initial communications. This message is also hidden from the competition. So if a brand X has put up an outdoor advertisement in the form of a hoarding, and there's another brand or anybody else, it is out in the open. So the competition knows who is advertising for what. But for these kind of direct mailers, the competition will never find out what you have been talking to them about, or what is it that you have communicated to your audiences. Then another kind of other media is telemarketing, which is more direct and personalized, and this is more of a sender controlled message, because since the name suggests, telemarketing, this is the kind of product which is coming on television. and the sender has designed this message, and there is no way how you can obtain a feedback on it. So it is more direct. It is going to persuade you to buy a certain product or goods, and it will be more personalized in nature because it will pull up those features of that product. Then another media is in-film advertising, which has been in the market for quite some time now. You would see a certain celebrity, the protagonist in a film, the hero or a heroine, holding a certain brand, while the name will display very clearly. It could be the car that they're riding, it could be a soft drink that they're having, it could be anything. So in-film advertising is something which is coming into something as as a product or a service which is being endorsed without saying that it is being endorsed by the celebrity. At the same time, it is also having a very limited attention because it is there in the scene for a few seconds and then it disappears. And the brand is not being talked about. But what you see is the protagonist holding it. That means the protagonist, in a way, indirectly is endorsing it. So that is in-film advertising. Then, of course, the kind of display that you see, the window displays, those are also a kind of media, and they work best at point of purchase. So whenever you see people doing some window shopping, you would see that there is a certain window display of products there, which you can walk in and you can touch, you can feel, you can see, you can explore, you can ask about it from the salespeople. And that is called the most potent vehicle whenever we are talking about advertising at the point of purchase. So POP advertising, window display, is one of the best media. Now, after we've discussed all these other kinds of media, let us also look at the advertising techniques. Now, there are three kinds of advertising techniques: above the line, below the line, and through the line. Let us look at above the line advertising first. When we talk about above the line advertising, it includes all those traditional mass media that we have spoken about in the earlier part of the session, including television, radio, newspapers, magazines, and out-of-home advertising. Then it aids in brand building because above the line advertising is something which comes to us through the already established traditional media, whose credibility we rarely question. So anything that comes from them, it helps the brand in building its image and creating a name for itself. It is also done at a very macro level, not micro. Why? Because it is, like I said before, it is talking to huge, humongous audiences who are geographically apart in time and place. They do not know who other audiences are. So it is done more at a macro level. Also, above the line advertising, it is making use of mass media and it is highly impersonal, just like any other, mass media advertising works. It is also more conventional in nature, and because it is involving only traditional media, it is more expensive. So this is about above the line. Now let us talk about below the line advertising. Below the line ad strategy is when products are promoted other than in mainstream media. So mainstream media is above the line. Other than mainstream media, it could be direct mail campaigns, it could be trade shows, it could be book fairs, it could be catalogs, it could be targeted search engine marketing. It could also be free gifts and free coupons, exhibitions, it could be asking for a refund. All those ways, because whenever you go and shop online, they tell you that you can get so much of a refund, you can get 10% discount. A refund can be in the form of a discount. So you can get this much discount if you purchase it now within 2 hours. So those are the below the line advertising. The idea is that all these forms of advertising, be it a trade show or be it a book fair or something like that, they break the clutter in advertising. Everybody is watching so many different brands advertise themselves on the television. But how many of you have you really paid attention to? Now, this clutter gets broken when you visit a trade fair, when you visit a book fair, or when you go to a certain trade show, a car show or something. It reaches the target audience more cost effectively as compared to the traditional medium of advertising. This is much more cost effective. And this happens more in the form of events that take place. So that is the below the line advertising. Now, when I talk about through the line advertising, this is a blend of both ATL and BTL. So it blends above the line as well as below the line advertising to provide a customized bouquet Okay, and this is what we popularly call integrated marketing communications. This is where you start using your brains as a marketer or as an advertiser. Why? Because you are able to find the right proposition of what to offer, which message to go through the traditional forms of communication, which are the ones that should go through direct marketing, which are the ones that should be put up on a hoarding, and when should we hold a trade fair. So it is a mix and match. There are various available modes of communicating a message. What is your strategy, and accordingly, how do you plan? Whether you plan an event, which is after the introduction of a brand, whether you plan a sponsorship, whether you plan, what is it that you're planning and how you're planning it, how you're presenting in front of the audiences, in what permutation and combination, is what we call integrated marketing communication, which is being made use of in Through the Line. Why? Because it blends both. It takes everything. It is an umbrella thing which takes into account both above the line as well as below the line advertising. So with that, I hope this has left you with more exciting thoughts, and you will pay more attention to the ads or the way the publicity of brands take place, the campaigns that are there. And in another session, we'll also be discussing about the strategies of advertising. Till that, happy learning, and I hope you've stood benefited with this session. Thank you all very much.